I'm not very sure when I started it.
Okay.
So it goes way back to the school level. So I had a friend called Parani,
Okay.
probably he's a proprietor of Kalimark.
Okay.
This guy was kind of a person who was interested in art, and he used to do paintings. And one fine day, like he got a participation certificate in the school in front of everybody. The principal had to invite her and give him a hand over a participation certificate. Probably that was the influence for me, and I started scribbling. For the first time, like when I went to an exhibition, painting competition, I didn't even know that charts were existing. I took a bond paper. My father gave me a bond paper.
What age?
Probably I was studying 4th standard. It was in USSR Cultural Center which organized that exhibition, and that was the watercolor cakes. I still remember, probably Camel watercolor cakes, and I used to insist my father on buying, too many brushes when I used to see other students buying brushes. My father used to say that, a person who is capable of doing several strokes, thicker or thinner, with a single brush is an efficient artist. Probably I took it for granted or took it seriously and started practicing that. But that was an influence again where I started it, and slowly copying things and other things, redoing, or even for that matter drawing grids and other things. Like I started developing the art, and it slowly evolved. As such, it slowly evolved. And I was not rather very good in drawing for the subject matters, probably biology or zoology. Instead, I was comfortable scribbling things which on my own.
Okay.
So that's how it evolved.
Okay. Who was your inspiration?
I don't know who was my inspiration as such in the college. Probably I was the first person to do painting in my house.
Okay.
I don't have a genetical trait or genetical link in my family who used to paint. But one thing like which I knew, that my father told me a story. That was the day, there was an MGR film where Mattikaran or something. There was a film. Mattukaravelan. That was a film. And one guy in his class used to portray MGR very efficiently, it seems. And my father used to ask me, when I used to request him for my painting, request him to do a sketch for me, and he never, was convinced to do a painting for me. I don't know, that was kind of an inspiration. Probably I felt that I should do something like that. I should do something much more serious and take up art as a passion. Most of the time it was also for venting, the more I was depressed, the more painting I used to do. And for me, when it is happiness, I have to sit with paintings. Rather, when I am depressed, it is always, I can communicate with painting better, I communicate with colors better when I am completely depressed. I feel that the stress level and catecholamine levels are boosters for painting. Probably these were the inspiration. Reared by single parent, I used to stay alone, and staying at a single as a single person made me think a lot, weird kind of thinkings, those things were portrayed in charts. I don't think, honestly speaking, even at the school level, I've never seen major artists. I've seen Maruthi's painting in Tamil magazines, or Jaykumar's paintings in Tamil magazines, or Kala paintings in or Tilaga's painting in magazines. Those were the only source of paintings drawings which I have seen. And once I went into the college, I used to see a lot of books from BCL, and those books were sometimes been an inspiration. That's it. And still now I'm very bad at remembering artists' names. Internet, I must have seen their works, but remembering the name is completely difficult for me. And over a period, Mr. Rof, when I met him, he gave me a couple of documentaries of major masters, Western masters, and that's where I got inspiration from several artists. It might be Caravaggio or Rothko or Van Gogh or Picasso. All these works have been depicted in a documentary. Those things again, it was again a inspiration, and I started reinventing things or rediscovering things in me, where it changed the form of art which I started doing.
Okay.
That's it.
Since you have since you found your interest and talent in the art at a very young age, why didn't you take it as a full-time course?
Okay, that was a good question. I was always passionate about science. Like science was my first base, and that was the only thing which I wanted to pursue. I wanted to become a medical professional. Rather, I landed up being a cardiopulmonary physical therapist, and I was not very keen enough. Somewhere, something was struck. The society always teaches. சும்மாவே வரைஞ்சிட்டு இருக்கடா எங்கடா படிக்க போறேன்டா. This kind of nudging from the parents made me not to pursue art as a first career, rather than get into something else which can earn money. And over a period, when you start earning money and you settle down, you feel that you have to do something what your heart says, and that is where you start reinventing things. You go back to the passion what you had. So this is where I didn't take my art as a career. Probably I think that answers the question.
What is your favorite genre in art?
I'm really hunting for it. Like I'm really struggling to find what is my genre. Probably, to be precise, like sometimes I do abstracts, sometimes I do semi-abstracts, and sometimes I do some expressions. What I feel is I can brand it as eclecticism. Rather, I want each and every art to be unique. I want to switch over from one sort of painting to another sort of painting, but I'm very comfortable with abstracts as well as semi-abstracts, even sometimes figurative forms, which has been portrayed in an abstract form. That is kind of an interest, but I always feel that like there must be a cryptic message in a painting, and I wanted to convey some message, and where I want to portray a painting in such a way that like the audience or the other person who visualizes it has to perceive it. And for me, my audience are not that kind of people who can like just look at a glance and say it's a bad art or a good art. He has to sit in painting and try to figure out what I try to say. I put my heart and soul in my painting and try to convey some message through lines and sometimes through colors also, and I wish the other person also communicates or perceives it in the same way. That's all.
Okay. What is your favorite medium, or in which medium you are so comfortable?
Probably like I've tried all mediums, right from the like since I'm an autodidact artist, like I've tried to settle down with single medium, and I've tried with acrylic, oil and everything, but of late I'm very comfortable with the acrylics and oil paintings, or rather even a mixed painting, like a mixed medium, oil as well as acrylic together. And I'm very much elated to see the way other masters are painting with watercolors, which is they just do it like a cakewalk, like, and I understand that it is a very difficult skill to develop. Rather, I will try my hands on watercolors also in future.
Technically, you are so sound in art, even though you haven't studied it as a course. Where did you get this knowledge?
Probably like what I feel is trial and error. That I had to put it in that way. Like probably if you see the Sumerian caves or the Hans cave, where did that knowledge come from for the like the primitive man? Like they started doing on their own. Like they say that the ergasters used to do abstract paintings. They used to use red ochre and yellow ochre, natural colors, to do paintings, and they were evolved. Probably this is kind of an evolution. You learn it as a process. In case if you're not an like literate, artistically literate, going to a college, you start to explore a lot of things. You experiment each and every medium, and you experiment different tools, and those things gives you knowledge. Doing it again and again, you do it, you cause an error, you again do it, you learn something from out of it. And if it's not comfortable, throw it and choose a comfortable medium or choose a comfortable technique. So probably I play with a comfortable technique which I am comfortable with. That's how it goes on.
What is your favorite color?
Rather, I would say that white is my favorite color. Probably against background. But when I'm very comfortable with monochromes, and that is probably I can be more expressive with the monochrome.
Do you think reading is necessary for an artist?
Definitely yes. I think this goes without saying. I feel that you get a lot of inputs. Probably I can just explain it more technically. If you take brain as an organ, it gives an output of 20% and it takes an input of 80%. So how does that 80% of input comes is through reading or through other environmental stimulus. It could be rather seeing a movie or watching other masters working on it or even reading books. And probably you have to create a potential creative bank from which you can pick up at any time and work. In case if the bank is completely empty without anything, you can't portray anything as such on it, and you land up in something called copying from other artists, or redoing others' work. It does not come from within. So when you want to be much more creative, you just have to create that potential creative bank where you have to take inputs in form of reading or in form of watching other movies or even listening to other works, seeing other masters' works, and then making a account for yourself.
How do you connect science and art?
For me, art and science goes hand in hand. That's how for me it is. There's nothing called two separate dichotomies. Art as a different dichotomy and science as a different dichotomy. There's an emerging field called neuroaesthetics, where it tells something roughly about how a brain perceives art. Rather, there are certain forms. Probably symmetry is perceived in a better way than asymmetry, or parallelism is perceived in a different way than unparalleled things. So neuroscience or neuroaesthetics gives you a brief idea about how you can implement science into art. For example, brain perceives lines better than colors. Linear lines are perceived in a better way. So in case if your neural circuit is not perfectly working on it, you can never do a painting much more better. And there's a separate science called what you do in art therapy. If you see a stroke patient, they don't do a better drawing. A spatial neglect patient, that is half side which is neglected, and in the brain they will only draw part of a image and part of which is neglected. So directly there is a connection between neuro as well as or the brain as well as the art which we do.
Who is your favorite author?
In books, you mean to ask books?
Yeah, books.
Book, okay. I tried figuring out reading some Tamil books, but I landed up failing in it. I personally like Richard Dawkins, Selfish Gene, God's Delusion, Greatest Show on the Earth. These were my favorite books. Carl Sagan, again a science communicator, as such I like him a lot. And even I've read some books by Paul Davis. Even I like his works. On a lighter note, even Paulo Coelho's works are my favorite. And on the other hand, I'm reading a book on Sapiens by Noah Harari. So even I started liking that author also. That's it. Tamil books, I've read a couple of books by Sujata, and I'm not very comfortable with Tamil books. Rather, I'm very comfortable reading an English book. And those books actually gives me some kind of inspiration. The moment I read a book, somewhere some spark, kind of a wow effect comes in. I start sketching from that book. That's how it is.
Tell us something about the art scenario in Chennai.
Okay, probably I'm no wise to answer this question, but still, what I personally feel is, the art market, what is available here is very limited, and it is, how do I put it? It is still owned by, the seniors or the great masters, and art enthusiast or art appreciation is very, very poor in Chennai as such. People don't appreciate art. When you don't appreciate art, there's no point in buying art or no point in selling an art. People take it for granted. For them, there are two kind of dichotomies. It's a good art or a bad art. That's it. They don't try to explore what an artist is trying to say. Here people like more of skill and than an artist who explodes in it. And they might simply degrade or discard an art saying it is a bad art. But I think even children should be taught at the school level how to appreciate art. Art appreciation has to be taught in the school level. Only then they can come to an exhibition and then appreciate an art. And I think of late, number of artists have increased in Chennai. Probably even people who have started doing in the school level are trying to do it at a later age. If you see, like the social media, medias like Facebook and WhatsApp and other things, we had a lot of photographers coming in with the DSLRs 5 years back, and now things are changing. Like completely it is changing. People have started working on art. We have a lot of clubs which are working on like weekends. Who a lot of amateur artists join in and they start doing works at the spot, paintings at the spot. I think enthusiasm towards art is increased in Chennai. And art activity as such, like we had a program like Hues of Blue, what we had, or like other art camps like community art painting for the book fair. All these things are encouragement for like autodidact artists, self-taught artists also. And where there is a culmination of like professionals and non-professionals coming in. And non-professional artists, they learn from the professionals. And this is enabling a lot of opportunities for an artist in Chennai as of now. The thing is that the importance what is given to science or maths or language for that matter is not being given to any arts. There is a craft teacher in a school, and most of the time the craft teacher does not teach anything. As such, we were not taught anything at the school level. All the thing was like we were being focused, focused only on professional achievements. Like we either wanted to be a doctor or we wanted to become an engineer. Nobody wanted to become an artist. And we have colleges for arts. We don't have school for arts as such. Like only when person learns from the school level, he can progress to a college level. He can have a mathematics in school level, and he can acquire science BSc Maths in the college level. But for art, there's nothing. There is no curriculum as such. There is nothing called a paper called art in the school level. And how can he directly go into a college level? And only when students are inculcated all these things, he can appreciate art as such. And they can also learn that the art is also a way of living. Art is also a way of expression. So unless and until you teach in the school level, it is not going to come up. So because that's a growing years, up to 18 the brain starts growing. You just have to bombard your system over there. You got to teach them at the school level. Only then they can explore new avenues later. Okay, I feel that, I personally feel that for that matter, even not even an artist or any other profession for that matter, the more you earn, the more you've been respected. Even here the artist who has more amount of earnings and who's known to a lot many people are respected more compared to an artist who does not earn money at all through his paintings. Artists really should know how to show themselves off, really show off. Unless and until you do it, you're not respected as such. Once in a while, you might have a crowd who appreciates you, and not as a whole. The society as a whole does not appreciate you. And even for that matter, when you say that when you take it as a full-time job, I have to struggle for bread and butter. So that's the scenario as such. Unless and until I crack it and I earn money, you are not respected. And for that it takes time. Probably for the, to be honest, even I am at the starting stage. I don't even say I'm at the starting stage. I have not even started as such. I feel one thing is that the avenues are not explored by artists. There's no major platforms for artists to sell their paintings. When it comes to business, that is still a big secret. So how a big artist sells it and another artist does not sell it. So I think each and every artist should know to market himself and to find his own market. I personally feel that with creativity comes responsibility. I can keep reading a lot of books and I can put status on my Facebook, condemning every single activity what is happening in the society and criticizing each and everything politically or whatever is happening, or for that matter even criticizing environmental needs and other things. Unless and until I don't do anything from my side to the society, like I'm not doing anything. Like I might be a big photographer or even an actor. Unless and until I don't do something through my works, through my paintings, I don't deserve to be called as socially responsible. I don't deserve to be called as socially responsible. For that matter, like when I talk about my paintings, I talk about extinctions. Mass extinctions bothers me a lot. Environment bothers me a lot. Lack of water bothers me a lot. I just try to portray in my art, cryptically portray in my art at the same time. Feminism, violence towards women bothers me a lot. I try to portray against violence against women, acid attack women, or for that matter even sex workers. The lifestyle of a sex worker bothers me a lot. The social responsibility what I have, I always put it in my work. Fine, of course, I'm a physical therapist. One thing which has helped me a lot is that we used to study a lot of anatomy, surface anatomy and other stuff, functional anatomy and all these things. And what an artist needs to know is structural anatomy. Probably from my side, I might know what muscle originates at which place and inserts at which place. The artist knows the structural part of it. That is how I was able to incorporate structural forms a little bit easily into my art. I don't know whether I'm successful. I'm trying to do it as such, because studying it for an applied purpose of medicine or for physical therapy and using it in art is two different forms. When it comes to art, just have to forget about the functional anatomy and I have to concentrate on the structural anatomy for part of it. I'm trying to explore that also. I'm still relearning the structural anatomy, erasing or trying to, superimposing my knowledge about functional anatomy and the surface anatomy. That's how I try to do. But of course, in some form, it is helping me. Okay, that's a very big, difficult question to answer. Probably the first time when I saw Vishwam sir, I was inspired by his work. The ease with which he handles the canvas as well as the brushes. And I always see, most of the time the canvas is his palette as such, and he does not use any palette. And the way he portrays a lot of things, the elements what he uses inspires me a lot. On contrary, I like Manohar sir also. Manohar, the way he uses watercolors, the way even within a jiffy, he does a work, and the ease with which he is also working, inspires you. You feel that any Tom, Dick and Harry can work it, but when you try to work their strokes, the difficulty what you find in it. So probably I would say that Manohar sir, even for that matter Raman sir. Raman sir has a unique style of breaking the lines. There is no single continuous lines in it. He breaks the lines and draws, and there is a connectivity in discontinuity in the line, and that again the minimalism in his works that inspires me a lot. Probably I would say that Raman sir or Vishwam sir, or for that matter and even for that matter of Veera Santanam sir. The magnificent size of his works, and I see a lot of culture in it, more ethnic in nature. The sometimes rustic and sometimes vibrant colors what is used as a base inspires me a lot. Probably I could name all these artists who are in some form inspiring us. I would have left out a lot of artists, probably the upcoming artists like Ganapathy Subramaniam, his fluidity with colors. Even I like those things. For that matter, portrait artist Saravan, So even he inspires me. So I just try to be on the receiving end, like I try to like get inspiration from all these things, bits and pieces of inspiration from all the artists, and try to have my own unique style in it. So these are the artists who inspires me a lot. I just wanted to tell an explanation for it. Like once, like I had my niece. She was just 1.5 years old. I was trying to do a portrait, and then halfway through, like I just left that portrait, and my niece, who was just 1.5 years old, started scribbling on it. Like pencil strokes, lot of scribbling on it. She does not know what she has scribbled on it. And once I came back, I saw this painting. Like I was simply irritated seeing that work. The strokes what my niece, 1.5-year-old child, has done on the painting. But I felt that like I was not able to duplicate it. So for whomever, like I don't know, like which artist has told this, like, and that is their personal point of view. Probably the point of view of my side is completely different. If you take history of humankind, humans started working as abstract artists, and then came other things. Like photography evolved from paintings. When hyperrealism and paint photography is there, why do you need to do a structural painting? You can really have a DSLR camera where you can go for a portrait or shoot a photographs into it, rather sticking to it. And no camera would provide you an abstract painting. So abstract form comes from the brain, and the person who it is just not splashing colors. And I feel that an artist who does an abstract work knows what he is doing, and he does not do any gimmicks into it. He knows where to apply the color, and he knows what form has to be there, and he has a story in it, and he knows what he has done. Each and every stroke tells a story in it, and it is just not I would put it is not a gimmick. At any point, a person who does in realism will find to do a attractive abstract painting, rather an abstract artist, and if he wishes, works on it, he can do a structural painting, or he can do a realism painting. And I feel that only a realism artist over a period evolves and switches over to an abstract artist. It is not that they directly get into an abstract thing. In case if they think that abstract artist is a kindergarten work and they start splashing paint, that is unfair. But if you want to evolve as an abstract artist, if you see the history of any artist who have come as an abstract artist, they have a past, they have an history of doing structural painting, they have a history of doing realism work, and then they switch over. At one point they decide that copying is just a skill and working on it is completely different, working from within. That's much more better, that's more unique. And I feel that each and every painting must be unique in nature. There must be no duplication. Each and every abstract work is unique. Even the same artist could not duplicate it. Rather, realism can be duplicated several n number of times, but abstract cannot be duplicated again and again. Even the same artist who says that abstract artist is a gimmick or something can never duplicate another person's abstract art. Right? It comes from within. That's it.
What are your future plans when it comes to art?
I don't have big plans. I try to explore whatever comes on the way. Probably I envy everything around when it comes to learning. Like I want to learn art, I want to learn photography, I want to learn script writing or anything. I'm trying to do bits and pieces in everything. Probably I might become a pro in single field. Until now, I don't know whether I'm a pro in art also. Like I'm trying to explore things into it. In case if destiny permits, I might become an artist, full-time artist also. Time should decide it. Again, the same question was asked by another interview from leading magazine or leading newspaper in Chennai. Probably like I was reared by a single parent, and I had a dysfunctional family. And this, I think, like this is always engraved in my thoughts and the process, and that reflects in the painting, you know, like the choice of color, the sober colors, and then sometimes it's not vibrant also, tells or portrays more amount of doom and pain into my work. I had a you know, like a person like who was appreciating my painting. She was a doc, and when she said, like, when she was standing in front of my painting, she said that the painting depresses her a lot. Probably that is the emotion which I wanted to you know, bring in from my painting. When you're able to emote in front of a painting, that is the success of an art. And if you're not able to emote, just see it as a piece of colorful work. That's not work, you know. Probably you just have to have a connection between the painting as well as the person who sees it. If you're able to emote it, at least 10 to 20% of it, that's a success for an artist. So I think, like, I was successful in doing it. When somebody asks me that, you know, like it is more of pain and sorrows into it, I am emoting somebody else into it, and that is the message which I am conveying. So it is easier to be unhappy rather to be happy. My colors are more unhappy, so I am portraying more. So thing is, like, I feel that the need of the art to be multifaceted, you know, and that's nothing new. For example, like, if you take a primitive human being, like, he was skilled in lot many things. A single person can do a lot of things. He can do an artwork, he can do a pottery, and he can do a tool, or he can cook, do anything. A single person can do a lot of things. Over a period, what had happened is we started depending on several. We need an artist separately, we need a cook separately, we need a person who, you know, like sews separately, or a person who does a, you know, like tool separately. But I think, like, I'm just going backwards, you know, like, and evolving, retrograde evolution rather. I feel that I started learning a lot of things, like, you know, multifaceted is kind of this, like, where I started learning from art a little bit, photography a little bit, literature a little bit, writing a little bit, as well as filmmaking a little bit, and I wanted to become multifaceted. As such, if you see, my hypothesis is that in future there will be modules of brains. You know, like, if you see these you know, like evolution of children who have autism, they are savants. You know, they are skilled in only one activity. Probably you can see an idiot savant of art, you can see an idiot savant of maths. In future, 10 years or million years down the lane, there will be brains of single modules. There will be an art module brain, there will be a, you know, like math module brain, and there will be a, you know, like singing module brain or something, music module brain or something. So I'm happy being multifaceted, where I feel that my thirst to knowledge and thirst to learning things have not yet settled down. I think it is mandatory that a photographer as well as a director has knowledge about art. You know, like photography is an extension of painting, and whatever rule of composition which they follow in photography has been followed in art. Knowingly, unknowingly, rule of third, rule of odds, rule of clutters, all these things have been followed in paintings. And I don't know, like those days, Victorian days, how they learned all these things, these composition rules, but that has been extended to composition of photography also. In case an art photographer knows painting really well, he might compose it really well, and the knowledge of color would play a definitive role. Again, same way, in a director, probably, like, you know, in case if he knows really art well, he knows what color to be used as a costume or a backdrop for a particular scene. In case, you know, it's going to be a very sober scene or a painful scene, wearing a bright, vibrant color would completely spoil the scene mood. Rather, if an artist or a director knows what choice of color to be used, or what color choice or set colors should be extracted from an art director, that will be much more beneficial. I think it is mandatory for an artist, for a director as well as a cinematographer or a photographer to know knowledge about art. Fine. I think, like, now science should play a major role in explaining this answer. We have two parts of brain, the left part of the brain and the right part of the brain. The left part of the brain does a lot of many works, you know, like probably that is the dominant part. and for reasoning, behavioral pattern, and not many things are on the left part of the brain. The right part of the brain is more amount of creativity, which is not unexplored, which is not utilized much better. There are exercises even for a normal individual to exercise the right part of the brain where he can become an artist or a creator. It is definitely not a nature, it is a nurture. Even a person who starts at a later age can also, by nurturing it and redoing it again and again, can start learning it or can start developing new neural cells or new connectivity to become a creator. But nurturing is very much important. In that way, the physiology of brain would play a major role in making you an artist. But at no point, I've heard Manoj saying, any Tom, Dick and Harry can do a painting. Some people needed to do it for 100 repetitions, other person needed to do it for 250 repetitions. And he also claims that even these days animals are doing paintings. Even elephant does abstract work. That's what he says. The answer behind it is that the more amount of repetition and redoing it and relearning it again and again would form, make you a creator. And when you become a creator, you just have to develop responsibility. That responsibility comes from that's not innate. That responsibility comes from the social or environmental bombardment towards you.
What do you usually do to overcome thought blocks?
I think every artist has a thought block at some point of the time. I don't know. Probably sometimes I manage it switching over to other interests. I start reading books or listen to music or see some movies, or completely get engrossed into my professional work. But a simple way is that I've tried a simple way of doing mindful meditation. Sitting completely drenched into mindful meditation for 10 to 20 minutes. You just come out with it. The moment you do a mindful meditation, you get into the subconscious process. Sometimes I've even visualized colors and forms in my subconscious state, where I used to reproduce it after coming out of it. And I would say that a dose of ethanol is also a process of getting into a subconscious state, where the critical thinking part or the conscious part gets faded away, and you get into the subconscious part, intoxication or other thing. But that is the reason probably most of the artists get intoxicated while they do a painting. For me, my source of help was mindful meditation. That was the easy way to get rid of a thought block.
What is the best part in being an artist?
See, I think the answer to it varies from artist to artist. For me, probably I realize what I am into an art. Apart from realization of what I am into art, the applause what you hear, that's a kind of a positive energy, positive vibration what you get when you do an artist. You have a lot of peer group friends, you just develop a lot of friends. You can socialize really easily, and you at times even you have a girlfriend, who is falling for your art. And that is the kind of encouragement you get as an artist, and that is the kind of opportunity what I get being an artist. I have difference of opinion about stating about a digital art. Digital art is much more easier, and you can redo and erase and redo it several times. Rather that kind of haptic feeling what you develop in a painting, you don't develop in a digital art. The learning what you get in a normal art form, you don't get it in digital art, but it is much more easier. And I think you just have to appreciate the amount of work you can do in digital work also. Digital work has to be utilized in places where normal work cannot be utilized. Rather, using digital work for writing a script is much more easier and time consuming, rather than using it on a handmade work, normal work. In that form, it has to change. Probably photographers have changed to digital format these days. The film format has changed to film format, and they have accepted with wholeheartedly. And I think artists should also accept it a little bit and explore what is possible in digital art, or use digital art as well as the other art forms as a gel to form a new kind of an art. Once airbrushing was ignored, and I don't think airbrushing is in, it has its own natural, it had its own natural depth. The same way, digital art should not go into vain. It can be utilized in positive ways, and artists should welcome that also.
Any plans to exhibit your digital paintings?
Yes, definitely yes. Like I think like the recognition for my art should come after doing other kind of works. Probably after 2 or 3 solo exhibitions, I may do a digital painting exhibition, digital work exhibition, and I don't know how the fraternities, art fraternities would like appreciate it or welcome it. But rather, like when I do a digital exhibition, digital art exhibition, it is only for the sake of art and nothing else. And even a digital artist puts in a lot of effort doing it. And I think the masters should welcome it and appreciate that form of art also.